Hello, Westside, and welcome to the 2021 Stewardship Campaign, Keeping the Hearth Fire Lit. So first of all, I want to make sure I say a big thank you. Thank you all for staying with us during this time of separation. For those of you that are new here, thank you for joining us. And for all of you, thank you for moving forward with us. We're almost home. And before I go any further, I think we should probably say the affirmation of the church together. This time, helped out by some of the youth of the church. So take it away.
Love is the doctrine of this church.
Quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer.
To dwell together in peace. Seek knowledge and freedom.
To serve others in community.
To the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation.
Thus do we covenant with one another.
So a quick word on the coronavirus. We aren't opening the building yet. We don't have a date in mind yet. The board is keeping an eye on the recommendations of our local health officials and the UUA as well. And we all want to get back to the church, but we can't do it until it's safe. So we gotta finish out what we need to finish out, and like the name of the campaign is, keep that hearth fire burning, keep it lit, keep it ready for us when we come back. So one of the things we're going to talk about is the work that's been going on at the building in this sort of year without members and visitors really being able to come. There's some silver linings to all of that we'll be exploring next week in our video, but here's a quick preview of what some of the garden is looking like. Obviously plenty of work to be done, but so much has been done already. It's fantastic. Can't wait to show you next week. This week, though, I want to focus on the work that we've done at being together even though we're apart. Honestly, we owe so much to so many people in this church. None of this stuff that we've done, all of the things we have done, the worship services, the religious education for our children and our adults, the social justice work, the other ministries that we've kept active, all of it's been on purpose. None of it's been by accident, and we couldn't have done it without you. So let's take a look. We've had some multi-generational services. Even with COVID, we've been able to put some on. If you remember, around the Christmas season, we had the Charlie Brown service with all of our youth on Zoom. It was fantastic. I'm pretty sure it's up on our YouTube channel if you missed it or you want to go back and rewatch it. Fantastic. Just a ton of work went into that, both by our volunteers as well as our paid staff at the church. We also had a lot of celebration and learning going on with children's religious education, from keeping in touch with folks, living long and prospering, to Easter, socially distanced virtual Easter egg hunts. One of the projects that I know that CRE was working on before everything happened with the coronavirus were these wildflower seed bombs that a bunch of our volunteers and youth put together, and that we were going to do a big Earth Day thing, and then everything shut down. But CRE, through the hard work of our DLRE, Nikki Kennedy, our volunteers on the CRE committee, we'll hear from them later. Hang on till the end of the video. We've got a special little message from our CRE committee at the end. And of course, our youth. They were able to make some good use of these seed bombs and help spread them around our neighborhood. We didn't just throw them in people's yards. we got permission. But yeah, so fantastic, kind of making lemonade when life gives you lemons. Wasn't the original plan, but we certainly did what we could. Speaking of other celebrations and learning. Halloween came and went. We had some good costume, uh, some good zooms, I guess you could call them. We also had projects that were, put forward to the families. In this case, making mosaic chalices, which is a very fantastic project. Anyone of any age, I think, could enjoy. So, if you're still looking to get a little project and work on something, might I recommend finding some mosaic tiles and putting together a chalice or something else meaningful. And it's not just our children and youth that have been working hard. It's not just our children, our RE committee that's been working hard. Obviously they have, but our social justice work has continued, socially distanced, outdoors, masks on. Here we have Linda Ice delivering some absolutely fantastic food to the Samaritan House. I know the Samaritan Supper Club is doing everything they can to do what we can during coronavirus. I know that they would absolutely appreciate any help or donations anyone might still be able to throw their way. This other one was during the election. You the vote. You know, obviously who you vote for is your choice. But it's literally a religious principle for us, right? Is we want a good working democracy where people vote. So this is a pretty natural extension of the rest of our social justice work. And if you're not on the social justice email list with Cindy Fountain, check in with her. Get on that list. There are so many important things we need to be writing letters about and calling people about, and to really urge our lawmakers to live up to their responsibilities, guided by our 7 principles. Another thing that's taken a whole lot of effort and to pull off every single week is our worship services. I'm on the worship committee. I know the other people on the worship committee have been working incredibly hard. We've been going through ministerial transitions. We have another one ahead of us. We've had fantastic guest speakers come in. Members have stepped up to deliver reflections and homilies and music and all kinds of other things. It's been a joy to work on the worship team, even though we've been, trying to iron out challenges and some of the difficulties we've had. And I can't say enough for the AV team and everybody else that's worked so hard on this. And again, this is all on purpose. None of this happens by accident. All of the, all of the, making sure the Zoom's up on time and everybody coming in and getting welcomed, the visitors, all the breakout rooms, including sort of the specialty visitor breakout room, that's done on purpose. All of the music, all of the readings, all of the reflections, it all takes effort, and a lot of it's our volunteers, but also a lot of it has been our paid staff as well. Our office administrator, speaking as a member of the worship team, the office administrator has been a huge help to our committee, and I know that having a full-time office administrator has been a definite boon to other committees in the church. It's freeing up us having to do paperwork so that we can actually focus on the work of the committee. It's one of the sort of returns on our investment into the church. Obviously, we've enjoyed having full-time ministers, and we'll talk more about that at the end. Our sexton has been doing so much work over sort of the last year. We'll talk about that when we talk about the garden and the building next week. Yuki's still doing fantastic music on the piano. I don't have to tell you that. Last but certainly not least, Nikki Kennedy, our DLRE. So much of the community that we've been able to continue building during our time remotely has been because of the hard work of, again, tons of volunteers. If I tried to name them all, this video would be 3.5 hours long because I'd have to really get into what they do, which is so much. And stewardship, and again, stewardship's not just about money, it's about our time, our talent, and our treasure. So huge fan of all the work that's been done on all of this. And speaking of time, talent, and treasure, if you're looking for some volunteer opportunities, obviously we're going to have a ton coming back when we get back to the building, whenever that is, sooner rather than later, we hope. But the AV team could use your help now. You don't need to be a computer whiz to help out with the AV stuff on worship. The training is super quick. You have an entire team backing you up. So if that's something that you'd like to try out, contact the AV team. Jeff Rodriguez would be a good contact person. Garden and building, there's more work to be done in the garden and building. I know a lot of people were ready to volunteer before coronavirus came around to help out with the garden. And some folks have been able to come by when it's safe in small numbers. Diane Nixon's done a fantastic job organizing that. We'll talk more about that next week. But there is more work to be done, and as more people are hopefully in a position where maybe they've been vaccinated, maybe they've got in a more, anyway, we'll talk more about it next week. But if you want to help out the garden, send Diane Nixon a message. She will figure out a way you can help. Also, just with the building in general, there's been some projects going on. Again, you can contact Diane Nixon, or even Nikki Kennedy. They've been doing some work with some of the religious education spaces. I don't know what kind of help they might still need. I just know that they've been doing a lot of work with that. Social justice team already said, get in touch with Cindy Fountain. Her emails are always worth it, always worth reading. The choir is we're doing what we can separately, but when we come back together in the church, one of the things I'm looking forward to the most, there's so many things I'm looking forward to. We'll talk about it next week. But one of the things I'm really looking forward to is the choir. It's something else to have a choir in person. And there's a lot of other volunteer opportunities. If there's committees you're interested in, I think most of the contact information for them can be found on the website. Check in with them, see what the plan is, see what they're doing, see how you can help. So the big picture, we'll talk more details as we go through the next few weeks on the specifics behind the budgets. But the Finance Committee has put together two sort of rough out budgets. It's not down to the penny. None of this has been approved by the board. None of this has been voted on by the congregation. Both of those things would have to happen before anything else, right? But the big round number ideas, we have a $300,000 budget and a $250,000 budget. The difference between those is a full-time minister. Both of those funds, both of those fundraising marks, we keep the staff that we have. We're able to offer at least cost of living raises, because if we don't up our pay every year to keep up with the cost of living increases in Fort Worth, Texas, then we're asking our employees to take a pay cut. And I'm not comfortable doing that because of the absolutely fantastic work they've been doing the whole year. It's something else. It's something else to see what they've been doing this whole time. And some of you have been very directly involved and know exactly all the things that has been done. But as involved as I am, as much as I know the people that are doing this work, it's still, I'll still find something that I had no idea was being done that's been, a huge deal. A lot of these, pictures that you've seen so far come from events that, I wasn't connected with those particular groups maybe, but that was still being done in at least part by our paid staff and our volunteers. Either option should not really include any amount of deficit spending from the Betty Sanders Fund, which is great. The sooner we can not be spending money from that, the better. And also, it gives us some options on what to do with it if we don't really need it for deficit spending anymore. But the big difference is the minister, right? If we can get the $300,000 roughly, right? If it's a $500 short, it doesn't mean we don't get a minister. It just means we got to make some cuts. But if we can get close, hopefully 300,000 or above. But if we can get really close, maybe we can still swing a full-time minister. That's the big one. Now, exactly what kind of minister are we going to be getting? Are we going to go for another transition minister? Are we going to interim minister? Sorry, they help us with a transition. There's a transition team involved, but it's the interim minister. We could do that. We could hire a contract minister for however many years the contract makes sense for. We could hire a more of a developmental minister. We could look for our own settled minister. We have all kinds of options. We're Unitarian Universalists. We're certainly able to take advantage of going through some of the UUA procedures, but we don't have to if we don't want to. It's part of, part of being part of the UUA. It's not exactly a strict hierarchy. Now, if we go lay-led, if we don't end up with a full-time minister, and the $300,000 budget, that includes a very fair and competitive wage for our minister, whoever it may be. If, however, we are only able to raise in the neighborhood of $250,000 for the year, again, that's without any real deficit spending from the Betty Sanders Fund. We keep the staff we have, including at the very least a cost of living adjustment, but we won't have a minister of our own. Now, we didn't just zero out the minister budget because that's not going to work, because we're going to need guest speakers. So this does include a decent addition to the worship team's budget that would be enough to get us guest speakers throughout the year, probably 2 to 3 times a month. Closer to 3 times a month, I think, but 2 to 3 times a month, depending on exactly what's happening that month. We would pay outside speakers to come in, and with the other times a month, we would have members donating reflections, homilies, music, plays. As an example, the Charlie Brown Zoom Christmas that we did is one possibility for stuff like that. So either way, we pay our mortgage, we pay the staff we have, the committees, get at least some of the money they're going to need to do the work they want to do. We just may or may not be able to get a full-time minister. So a lot of discussions to be had on that. The board is still having a lot of discussions on that. If you'd like to talk to them, they'd love to hear you if you want to reach out. If you have questions for me, we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, so I know that's the big question, and this is the answer. Can we afford it? And this is what it would look like to afford it. So what does that mean? Well, we need to talk about your pledge. If you're ready to pledge, if you know what you're going to be able to do this year, you can go ahead and fill out the pledge form that's attached to this email. Send it to finance@westsideu.org. I will include that in the email as well. You've already seen it. It's just I haven't written the email yet because that's how time works. So weird with recorded content. And just a note, and I know I always say this, if you've been to one of my stewardship meetings before, you've heard this, but we're grateful for what you can do. We understand that it has been very difficult this last year. All of us have had all kinds of difficulties, but so if anyone, if you're not able to pledge, if you're not able to pledge right now, if you can't raise your pledge this year, if you need to lower your pledge this year, whatever it is, we understand. We are grateful for what you can give, but we do not want your rent money or your mortgage payments or the money you need to put food on the table, or keep a roof over your head, or keep the lights and heat and in the summer air conditioning on. We do want the time, talent, and treasure that you will be proud to donate to the continuing work of our congregation and community. I hear it put this way in a lot of people talking about stewardship campaigns, especially in UU churches. We don't want you to give till it hurts. We want you to give until it feels good, right? So whatever it is that you can do, we appreciate it. You can fill out the pledge form. send it back into finance at Westside UU. You can email it. That's the email. You can mail it to the physical church address, 901 Page Avenue, Fort Worth, Texas. I don't have the zip code in front of me, but if you're going to mail it, I'm pretty sure you've got it, or you can look it up. And if you have any questions, maybe you want to pledge, but you're not exactly sure, you've got some questions you want to know, you can reach out to me, stewardship@westsideu.org. That'll be included in the email as well. Maybe you just need a starting point to think about your donations. You're not sure what would be fair, what would be recommended by the UUA, depending on the size of our church and your budget and everything else. Fair Share Contribution Guide is also attached to this email. You can just look it over and sort of use that as a starting point. Obviously, we don't track. We don't know your gross adjusted income for the year, so there's no way we can actually track if people are paying their pledges based off of that. So it's not meant to stress anybody out or cause anybody anxiety about how much they have to give, because that's not what we're asking for. But people have asked over the years, what's a good number, what's a starting point? And honestly, the Fair Share Contribution Guide's a great place to start. And I'll see you soon. So next Stewardship email blast will be April 19th. We'll talk more about the garden and what's happening in the building. And in the meantime, expect phone calls, emails, Zoom invites, and even letters in the mail for the folks that would like that, to discuss our stewardship campaign over the next couple of weeks. Stewardship Sunday is May 2nd. We'd very much like to have all of the pledges in by then. So the sooner you can get the your pledge form into our finance chair, Stephanie Jeffers, again, finance@westsideu.org, the better. After May 2nd, we'll make another round of calls to see if there's anybody that needs help, anybody that needs a little bit more time. And again, any year we are obviously fine if people need to delay their pledge or change their pledge or lower their pledge, because life's going to happen. But this year especially, you don't owe us any explanations or apologies if you're not able to contribute your usual amount. We understand. We just need to know so that we can plan ahead. We can give the board a good, accurate plan to put together their proposed budget so that we can vote on it at the congregational meeting this summer. So whatever it is you're going to be able to put down on paper and pledge, try and get that done as soon as you can. Reach out if you need any help, if you have any questions. Happy to go over it with you, happy to talk on the phone, happy to set up a Zoom call. If it wasn't a pandemic, I'd be happy to drive by your place and sit down with you, or sit down with you at the church. But we'll have to do that virtually or digitally for the next little while at least. Hopefully next year's campaign we can do it mostly in person. So I mentioned earlier that we'd have the CRE come on for a minute, and I have a sort of special last-minute surprise. After this ends, there's going to be a video that starts featuring members of the CRE committee talking about how the CRE committee, how being on a member of that committee has been helpful and useful in their lives, and what a well-organized and well-put-together children's religious education committee does for our church. They can say it way better than I can, so I'm going to let them do it. So last time, promise, until next email. If you need anything, if you have any questions, if you're not sure about something, please reach out. Happy to talk, whatever way is most convenient for you. And yeah, let me know what we can do to help, and we will see you next week. So take it away, CRE committee.
I am so grateful to be a part of CRE at Westside. I have loved being a teacher.
My name is Lane Craig, and this is my short video about what Westside Children's Religious Education means to my family. My family and I have been attending Westside since 2012. For us, CRE classes and activities have given my children strong relationships, not only with friends their own ages, but also with caring, trusted adults. When my daughter Alice was in kindergarten OWL, one of her projects was to draw a caring circle of trusted adults, in addition to her parents, that she should turn to when she had a problem or a question. I'll never forget the next year when I received a phone call from another church friend who had given Alice a ride home from school. Alice had been worried about something that happened at school that day, and she had shared her concern with this trusted adult, who then shared with me some important information that I needed to act on. It gave me a great sense of validation and gratitude that we had chosen to help our kids build relationships with people at Westside who would be confidants and advocates for them. As my children get older and I see middle school and high school looming, I'm even more grateful to know that I can take steps to provide them with role models and allies among the volunteers and staff they encounter through CRE at Westside.
Why is Westside CRE important to me and my family? Well, Westside is our village. Westside is our people. I've never been more proud to claim a village, to pick a village and support a village that has worked so hard to make our space the safest place possible for children. Thank you to all the people that make that happen. Thank you to the kids for making it so much fun. It takes a village to raise a child, and I sincerely appreciate everyone in this village of ours that's helped me raise our children. I'm so grateful for this community.
I think CRE is important because it allows the children and families of Westside to stay connected to one another. I also think CRE is important because it allows our kiddos the opportunity to learn more about what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist.
I think one of the greatest things about CRE is that it is a safe and happy place for the youth to be themselves and express themselves. They can build relationships with one another and their leaders. They can expand, explore, share ideas. It's all about the connection, and I love that. And CRE is fun. It's something you can put on the calendar and anticipate with joy. And right now, we all need that more than ever.
Hi there, I'm Fernando Pargeter Villarreal. I am a member of Westside CRE Committee and a facilitator for the middle school class. Part of growing up involves learning to explore ideas of religion that may differ from our own. It is also important to understand our own faith and where it fits in relation to the world around us. Even during these times of pandemic and distancing, it is vital for our youth to have access to a peer community where they can connect, question, and unpack. Our CRE team is committed to bolstering the space needed for this to happen, and we would greatly appreciate your support. Thank you so much for listening.
I'm excited about starting this year's children's religious education. I want my child to be able to decide what religious, spiritual, and secular aspects speak to him at the moment and choose what is right for him. It is important to me that the central theme is love and acceptance of himself and others and a personal responsibility to the world around him. What I do not want is for my child to grow up in a religious vacuum that can be filled with negativity and hate. I am happy that Westside is a nurturing environment with people of all ages that has welcomed our family with open arms.
I have loved being a teacher, first in the classroom, and then as we pivoted to classroom on Zoom. One of my favorite parts is when kids or youth share their joys and concerns with each other. I believe deeply that congregations create community, and it's exciting to see them be happy for each other or show concern for each other as they share those joys and concerns. It just makes me smile when the younger kids share about their week, and they just light up because they got to see a cousin, or they ate their favorite food, or they got to go swimming. And it just is a reminder to me to really stop and tune in to the joyful things that are in my life as well.
Today, a new year begins. Thank you to all who help make CRE possible, for the seeds you plant and for the seeds you continue to nourish. We take comfort in the fact that Westside is our home.